back, everybody, to Dizzo's Den, the podcast. Been a little bit since we joined everyone. Got through tournament season. Now on the other end as we look forward to some spring sports, and we're going to still highlight some of our favorite interviews that a chance, if you didn't get a chance to hear them in full here. And our next up on the show today is Kindred standout offensive and defensive lineman Riley Sunram, the number one high school football prospect in the state of North Dakota for the class of 2024. Sunram announced earlier this week that he's going to attend the University of Minnesota on a football scholarship. Sunram has been in the spotlight since last June when North Dakota State was the first to offer him after their football camp. After that, Sunram saw his phone explode and get offers all the way from the University of Minnesota to Kansas State to Nebraska, all the way to the University of Miami. He visits about why he chose Minnesota, what's the next step for him, and what position he'll be playing with the Gophers, and why he decided to leave the state and head to the Big Ten. Here's our conversation with Kindred's Riley Sunram. First, congratulations. Tell us why the University of Minnesota won out to you.
Yeah, thank you. So as a kid, I've always watched the Gophers, just playing. I never really knew it'd become a reality to play with them. And it's just been awesome. I love everything they do and how they do it. And I love how they compete with each other. And then just academic wise too, they fit good for me, and their coaches have been amazing for me, and they've always shown me their support, and I love that. And I have good relationships with them now, and I hope to build that even more. But they've also just stood out to me, and I just love them, so I committed.
You went down this past weekend. Was it in the back of your mind, say, if I see what I want, I'm going to pull the trigger?
Yeah, so when I've been narrowing down schools these last few weeks, I thought of Minnesota, and I've thought about committing. I had that in the back of my head. And then this past weekend, I loved it so much. I love how Coach Devo coaches. And I sat in meetings with him, and then I watched him actually coach on the field. So I love how he coaches, and I just loved everything about Minnesota, and I have that feeling, so I took it.
When you called, did you talk to Coach Fleck?
I did, yesterday morning.
What was that reaction? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I called him first, he was kind of questioning why I was calling him that early, because I called him at 7:45 before school. So he was a little surprised, and then I told him, and he couldn't believe it. But he was pretty excited too, and he said he never stopped smiling after that call. So it was good.
What was your emotions making that phone call?
Yeah, I was really excited. I was smiling the whole time. Like calling the head coach and telling him I'm committed. It's just, it's one of the things you'll never forget in your life. So it was great.
On the flip side, I know you probably had to call some coach to say that you weren't going to go there. Tell us about on that. I know that's not easy. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so I'm very thankful for what they've done too, and it's just been an awesome experience to get to know those coaches too. And I've thought about how many coaches and people I've met through this journey. So it was a little hard to call them and tell them no, because that's, it's no one ever wants to hear a no. But yeah, I'm just thankful for all that too. But yeah.
All right. So I was joking with this. We had you on in June, the Bison offer, UND offers, and then tell me when things started to not spiral, but really get going, like Minnesota, Nebraska, Kansas State. We're on the air. I think you tweeted out when the University of Miami offered you. When did you start to say, okay, this is getting wild?
Yeah, so ever since that Minnesota offer, I thought things were getting, going a little bit, because I never went there and thought I was going to get an offer that night. But during that camp, I was feeling it pretty good. I actually ran one of my fastest 40 times there, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, ever since then, it's kind of, it went up, and I knew it was kind of getting serious at that point. So,
like when Miami offered, had you talked to them at all? And what was that experience like?
They texted me that morning, and he said he wanted to talk to me that day, and I wasn't really expecting that. But yeah, he called me and told me he wanted to offer me. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Thank you. So
yeah, what do you say? You don't say no, right? I mean,
yeah.
Did you get a chance to go down there?
Yeah, I went down there, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, so that was pretty fun.
What was that experience like, just to see that's a different world than the upper Midwest?
Oh yeah. No snow there. The coach actually promised me if I went there, I wouldn't have to shovel snow ever, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, that was the cool experience too. We also just took kind of a vacation from home, so that was good. But yeah, it's fun down there, and it's also just fun to see how other colleges are different from Minnesota too.
Riley Sunram joining us from Kindred. Did any school look at you at a different spot? Was anyone say, "Hey, if you want to, you could play offensive line. I mean, what was the sweeteners, I guess, being thrown out there about position wise?
Yeah. So Minnesota was almost like they were like the only school that offered D line, but they said either way they'd offer me just as a football player. But almost every school offered me as O line. So.
Well, it's funny you say that because when you were visiting with Eric Peterson from the forum yesterday and reading that, the video, the first I saw you was playing defense in the Dakota Bowl a couple years ago on defensive line. Like, holy cow, this guy's a sophomore and he's just causing havoc. Was that always in your heart of hearts? That's where you wanted to play?
Yeah, I've always liked Minnesota. Just even like I told you, just growing up as a kid, I watched them and it's just been great. And as a sophomore, I never knew this would be a possibility just because of how young I was and, all that. But, yeah, it's just been a great experience.
Was D-line always the spot for you? Like when we're watching video, Riley, from the Dakota Bowl from a couple years ago, and you're sacking guys, you're making plays all over. Was defensive line always like, you know what, that's where I love to play?
Yeah, I would have played either position. It's just, it's college football. But in the back of my head, I've always enjoyed D-line and, being on the D-line. So that was in the back of my head too. I've always enjoyed D-line a little bit more. So that had a little bit of an edge. So
what are you at right now, height and weight? What are you at right now getting ready for your senior year?
6'5", 295.
Holy cow, man. That's the reaction now just from family, friends, even in school. Like, what is the last 12 to 15 hours been like, man?
Yeah, it's just been crazy. A mix of emotion. It's kind of surreal, just, how this is it's actually real now. Like, but it's been great. All my family have given me a lot of support and, they were happy for me and congratulated me, and all my friends have congratulated me too. So it's awesome how much support I have, and I love it. So
I know I've talked to other people, guys that have commit, men and women, just about the weight off the shoulders. Was it like that today? What was the emotion waking up today, knowing this is all over and done with?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a relief just so I can focus on one school now and focus on my last high school season, because I got to focus on that too, even though I'm committed to a college. But it's definitely been a relief, probably for my parents too, because they don't have to take me on all these visits and spend all their money on food. So, but yeah, it's been good. I'm just excited that it's kind of all over, but it was definitely fun going to all those colleges too.
So I was texting with your dad about this, just about that experience though, now that it's over, but that's something you'll have with your family. You can look back on and say, we did this. That's a neat memory.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely I'll remember it for the rest of my life, and I'll tell my kids one day just, what I was through, and hopefully if I have a boy, but that'd be something he could go through too, and I could kind of share that experience with him. So was proximity a big deal? Was staying around here, was that a big deal at all, or not so much? Yeah, I've thought about that too. Minnesota's not too far away, so that's obviously good for my parents and family to see that. But it was never my biggest concern, because I knew my family would travel either way, just because how much they support me. But yeah, it's definitely easier for them that it's only 3.5, 4 hours away. So
I had a bunch of people wonder, well, are the Bison in this? Was NDSU how high did you think? I know they were early. How much were they considered for you in this whole deal?
Yeah, so right away I had a little bit of consideration just for them, because I've watched them too growing up. Like they were the team to watch, just winning all those national championships. But I've also thought about too, like it's only 30 minutes away. I kind of wanted that college feel too, like being a little bit farther away from home. So I think that was just a little too close. But
I got to ask you, with Carter Men's going to Minnesota from West Fargo Cheyenne, I know they've got Mason Carrier from Detroit Lakes, now yourself. How big a deal is it, Riley, that Minnesota has made some inroads up here for local guys to come down to the U?
Yeah, I think it's awesome that two guys from North Dakota are going to the U now. It wasn't in my decision that Carter Men's was going there, but obviously I've committed now, and it's awesome that we're both going to be there about the same time. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
So what are the plans today? This is all over. You turn the phone off. What's the plan here? You going out for dinner tonight?
Yes.
What do you got going on?
We're not celebrating. I got some more interviews to do tonight. So well, it's definitely going to be a few busy days, but then it'll start to calm down and be all back to normal again. So
are you doing track this year or no? This spring?
I am. Yep.
Tell me about that and how that helps you for football.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that too, because a lot of that's footwork and how you can move on your feet, because I spin in the shot foot, so lot of technique, and D-line is a lot of technique too. So that helps that out, just quickness, and then all you do is lift in the weight room. So that's good too.
We had Coach Crane, Matt Crane, on the show last week about his new job heading to Bismarck. But I was asking him about you last week about having the different schools come into Kindred. What was that like to see Minnesota or Iowa State, these big time programs walking through the hallways at Kindred High?
Yeah, it's just crazy that those big college schools are coming to Kindred, North Dakota, this small town. But I've asked them all, and they all enjoyed Kindred. Like it's a small town feel, but yeah, it's just been awesome how they could come here and show their support for me.
Last few years now, Riley, we've had a guy from go to Kansas State. I mentioned Minnesota, another Minnesota. What's that say about the level of high school football right now in North Dakota?
I say it's really physical, and we can compete at the college level. So,
especially at the highest level, right? I mean, it's one thing. Yeah. It's pretty good for NDSU and UND, but we're talking now Kansas State was playing Alabama in the Sugar Bowl a couple months ago. It's a whole other level now we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So now it's over and done with. Feet up, relax on this. You turn the phone off. What's is that the plan now? That all right, colleges, I'm done. Stop talking to me. Do you even have to say that?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I'm committed to Minnesota, so I'll definitely get to work down the weights and stuff because I know what I'm working towards now. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I'm going to start working too. So
my last question: have Minnesota told you? Is there a certain weight they like you at when you get on? I know you still got a whole year and a half to go, but have they talked to you that in depth yet about what they want you at by the time you get down there?
It's actually kind of funny because in July they told me they wanted me at 295, but that's what I weigh now. So, but they told me I carry my weight really well, and I bet I'll be over 300 there.
Well, man, I really appreciate the time. Like I said, I feel like we jump-started all this for you and you came on, and now it's a perfect capper to have you on when you announced your commitment. We appreciate Riley coming on. If you want to listen to other interviews we do, you can check out Dizzo's Den, the podcast, at Inforum.com or at Apple iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcast. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. This edition of Dizzo's Den. We'll see you next time.